Just one day after we broke new details in the Anaqua Springs murder case, more information is coming to light. Tonight, we've learned another detail as to why the sheriff will not close the case after two kids and their mother turned up dead. Here's part two of our Yami Virgin investigates.
Fox San Antonio has learned new details tonight as to why Sheriff Javier Salazar won't close the Anaqua Springs case. Nicole Olson and her two young daughters, Alexa Montes and London Briviescas, were found shot to death inside the home of Olson's boyfriend on January 9th of 2019. Tonight, the sheriff says there's a second reason why he will not close the case. He says there are still interviews that need to be pursued.
At this point, I still believe there are persons of interest that we have not spoken to. We have not spoken to the extent that I'd like to see them spoken to. And there are persons of interest in this case that we have not yet established where they were and what they were doing at the time that we believe these deaths occurred.
Others, Salazar says, they have not yet established where they were and what they were doing at the time of the deaths.
I'm on a journey to find justice, and so to me, justice doesn't come necessarily in the form of dollar signs for folks. If that's what they choose to define as justice, that's fine. What I choose to define as justice is finding the truth and not prematurely closing the case just for the sake of well, we want to get it off our hands and move on to the next thing. Again, I'm not ready to accuse Nicole Olson of such a heinous, ugly crime against humanity without ample proof.
Last night, Fox San Antonio first reported that 4 911 calls were made from Olson's cell phone just after 11 p.m. that night. Only one of them connected with the county's 911 system.
One of those calls actually went through and registered with you guys. Why didn't anyone respond to her?
Well, and that was one of the questions that I had. What we found was that while we did know that there was a disconnected call, a dropped call from that phone number, we don't know where that number is calling from. So all that we know is that we have a dropped call from a cell phone number. Normal protocol is to call that number back, but if we don't know exactly where that phone is located, we don't know where to dispatch to.
The exact location could not be pinpointed by the system since the call was not engaged long enough to give dispatchers coordinates for the location, and no one answered the callback from dispatch. Deputies say Olson's boyfriend, Charlie Wheeler, told them he'd argue with Olson on the night she and her daughters died and that he spent the night elsewhere. Deputies say Wheeler told them he found the body shot to death inside his home the next morning. The medical examiner's report says Olson committed suicide and that someone had murdered her two daughters. Yami Virgin, Fox News at 9.